Hello, my name's Amanda and this is Suddenly Autistic, my video vlog. Still can't get that right. Hello, my name's Amanda and this is Suddenly Autistic, the vlog where I am documenting, quite literally as it happens through the process, the thoughts and feelings and I suppose my journey towards understanding myself better as a person in this ever-changing world and ever-changing body, I suppose, and even concept of self, since becoming autistic. And I became autistic when I was born. Well, actually, even before then, I don't know, whatever your views are on that. But I found out that this was part of my reality only a couple of years ago. And something as fundamental as that does change everything. Well, it did for me. And that's what I've been talking about in these videos. In this particular video, I want to talk about something that's following on from a video I've just made about finding your life purpose, and that's around tiredness, around being tired. I feel tired, and it's tiring. Hey, that's that. So, tiredness. What in the last video I made, I was talking a little bit about not really an existential crisis, but about prioritizing, finding purpose, life's goals and directions. And for me, this is for me. I wanted to make this video because I really want to convey the message to anybody watching this who has watched other videos of mine, or maybe this is the first one, that I acknowledge, and have acknowledged even more so since making these videos and thinking about it more, that your purpose, feeling like you've made, for me, I want, because I'm not done yet, I want my life to feel to me like it's had a purpose, and that, okay, is it inherent to me? My purpose is going to be, or has always been, around making a contribution, a valuable contribution in terms of what I value. So my values neatly packaged up as a contribution or gift, if you like, to the world. I don't see myself as a gift to the world, a special person. I see myself as a person who is here and is doing the best they can every day, whether that's seen as a gift or taken or received as a gift or a curse or an in-between or a whatever, is out of my control, and it's not something that I think about terribly or try to control that way. I'm not particularly focused on that. But for me, that's what I want. I want to feel like I have utilized this package of meat and existential crisis in a way that makes a contribution, okay? No, not really. That kind of thing. And while making these videos, I've realized that this is very much tied up with, if you look online, if you look externally at things that might help you to find your life purpose, it's very much about goals, go-getting, doing, blah, thinking too, and having a concept and grounding yourself. It's all of this, but it's busy work, it's hard work. I wanted to acknowledge that no matter who you are or how you feel about yourself, and I'll bring it back to me, no matter how I feel, like no matter who I am objectively in this world through the eyes of other people, or that's a subject, isn't it? Sorry, I better get this right. If I think about myself, when I'm thinking about purpose and goals, it's irrelevant, to be honest, in that moment, what my objective reality is. The fact that I am a mother, that I have a home, that I've paid bills on time, that I've been a reasonably good neighbour, I haven't committed crimes, that I'm fairly law-abiding. Yeah, I think that's a fair estimation. I am probably highly law-abiding, actually, but there are the odd times when I mess up the recycling and whatever and go to hell with it. I'm going to put that piece of paper in the normal bin, which is a stupid thing to do when you're worried about the environment, but I'll own that. Anyway, little side aside, and I have taken my ADHD meds today, but it doesn't matter what objective reality I'm living with, what facts I can list about myself that are objectively true, what qualifications I have, what achievements I have, what good things I have objectively put out into the world, or what things, regardless of whether it's good or bad, what things, what outcomes. What matters to me when I'm making this and when I'm talking about this is how it feels. How I feel. That is 100% of it. How I feel and how that relates to objective reality are two different things sometimes. The further away they are, the more you could call that a mental illness or a disability, or both, which sometimes is true for me. I have mental illness with the generalized anxiety disorder and the CPTSD. And again, when you're watching this, the labels are interesting words to describe a pattern of symptomology, and I suppose objectivity around what I might be going through. It doesn't actually mean anything beyond that. And it's not that the label is more important than my reality, but those are patterns that exist, and that I'm starting to recognize what those things mean for me, and whether they're likely to persist in me or be things that I can that I can say goodbye to and not identify with in the future. So that when I'm making these videos, the objective reality, the reality that other people, the subjective third person reality, that what other people might see and how other people might evaluate me, is less important at that time, or is even of no importance at that time. It's how I feel. And people who have perhaps been in desperate situations, who felt either suicidal or that existential crisis, or just extremely tired, the extreme bone achingly can't really like hard to take another breath tiredness that comes with living with so much friction will understand what I mean. Yes, there are times when we can look at what we've done objectively and we can take subjective input and we can reevaluate, but it's not about that all the time. In fact, I think this is where the difference between depression and what I'm talking about comes in. I can hold. On that again. I'm trying to talk from my perspective. From my perspective, how I understand depression is this lack of, like nothing matters. It was all pointless. It's probably worthless. I probably did it rubbish, or what people are whatever. And there can be depression. There can be delusions, and towards even a lack of touch of reality, which is towards a psychosis. And I'm using these words as a complete layperson who's interested but not qualified at all, and who has this autism, which does give me a bit of a sort of strange understanding sometimes compared to the norm. But that's how I think of it. For me, when I'm talking about sort of tiredness and the fact that these objective realities or even subjective relational realities towards me and evaluating me, why they don't matter as much as how it feels for me, is less to do about depression, that I don't think those things matter. It's more to do with dialectics. So dialectic, it's this and that. I'm making this video without a script actually, and I thought of that word earlier when I was wanting to make this video, and then forgot to write it down and do a bit of a so I could tell you exactly what that means. I'll probably put that on one of the slides that I put in the presentations. But dialectical behavioral therapy is a type of therapy that I have dipped into a little bit for myself, and I have massively dipped into for my family and relationships around things like borderline personality disorder and other personality dysfunctionality which exists within the sphere that I exist in also. Dialectical behavioral therapy is, to my understanding, around this idea that when we're stressed and whatever, we tend to black and white things. It's all or nothing, it's this or that. Whereas dialectical thinking is having this and that. Going back to my musings or ramblings, I guess you could call them, because musings sounds like I've got something good to share. Ramblings is probably more accurate. The tiredness, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. I know that the fact that I have come onto this planet and achieved all this stuff that I'm really, really proud of, and I had all these experiences and collected and worked hard for these awards and qualifications. That is fantastic. That is a legacy in its own right. That makes me proud. I am extremely happy and feel very rewarded by that. And in this other hand, I've got my hands up here, so that's all that. And in this other hand, I am very tired. I feel very clogged up in my mind, a bit mentally constipated. I think I've used that analogy before. I talked about hoarding, the hoarding mentality of the brain. There's a little bit of that goes on with me in terms of facts and information, and there's also the rabbit holes and whatever. That makes for a mess of my head, and it's that which is linked to my feelings. So yes to this. I know that even if I don't get this resolved, that this is what people have seen and know and love, and this is me, and this is me. This is me for me's sake. This is me for your sake. Even making these videos is a contribution. I understand that. It's a way of organizing my thought and making a positive contribution into the world. And that is part of my goal. And I'm so proud of myself for doing it so far. And I'm so excited to see that other people enjoy it. And it thrills me when other people comment. However the comments are, it really does. I mean, unless they're just saying you're an arsehole. Even then, that would be kind of like weirdly interesting, I guess, because someone's taken the time to think that and write it down. So yeah, fair play. But tiredness, the complete overwhelm at the thought of making more goals, of having to do more in order to feel good about yourself or to feel worthy or feel like you've and again, I'm using those words and I'm kind of using them incorrectly, because that goes towards a depression. For me, that's not what I'm thinking, but I do have a bit of that, which is towards my anxiety. So I think anxiety and depression often come together. I associate heavily with the anxiety, and some of the words that I'm using, which could indicate a kind of depression, are more towards anxiety. And it's that anxiety that I have. Why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? It's more towards that. And I'm seeing that my disability and my acceptance of my disability and what that means and how I must act on that is where a lot of my anxiety is tied up, and is why I sometimes find it difficult to feel like I am making a contribution and that I am utilizing the tools that I've got and making sense and achieving my goals. That's what I mean. Leaning into this dialectic for me, and I think the sun's come right in the wrong place now. I don't know, maybe that's okay for you. It's a little bit in my eyes. It's quite nice because it's not hot today. It's cold. It's winter, and I'm sitting out in my forest. This is our woodlands. It's fantastic. It's 50 acres of box gum woodland that my husband and I we bought for my 40th, which sounds extremely privileged, and indeed it is. It absolutely is a privilege, and we are working hard to enjoy this. That's not hard. To regenerate it, to celebrate it, to again catalogue. It's one of the things. So in terms of, say, goal setting, existential, this is a good example. So for me, being here on the land, I look at things, take photos of things being fungus, ferns, plants, birds, whatever. It feels to me that I can clog up my mind and my phone with photos and information that I've researched, but until it's been formulated in something that I can share, or at least have shareable or make sense so that another person can relate to it, it feels like I might be just hoarding. That's exactly where I'm coming from, and I do that a lot. I get excited about a lot of different things, boxgum woodlands being one of them. Tiredness, again, I have to keep bringing myself back. What is the point, Amanda? It's all the point. This is all the point. This is everything that's going on in my head. I'm sitting here thinking dialectic, this and that, for the people who are watching and going, but look at all this. You're sitting in your own woodland. Life is enough. You've done enough. You've saved this piece of woodland from being found, whatever. Yes, I get that. And I still feel clogged, brain clogged, confused. I'm still tripping myself up in my own life. And like I said in my other video, which I'll link to somewhere, whoever knows where, if there's hurdles in your own dream space, in your own safe space, in your own body, let's take it to the body. If there's hurdles, if you're tripping yourself up in your own body. You are the only person who can see those hurdles. You need to work out what you do with them. Some hurdles you can't remove. Physical disability, mental disabilities, things that are permanent like that, potentially. You can't remove that hurdle. You can change your relationship to that hurdle. My disability around my eyesight not being 100%, I can wear glasses, I can get there. That's a hurdle. My eyesight, the glasses are the I don't know, the help. I have deficits in my sensory experiencing of the world, and I can still enjoy the world if I understand that. If I don't understand that, and then not only understand it, but then make a plan to try and bridge that gap or reduce that friction. Friction is a good word for it. Then I am going to get tired. So this is where I'm coming to with tiredness. And I think on this point, I will say that getting my diagnosis of autism was, for me, great, because nobody who knew me thought that was a surprise. In fact, it was kind of like a relief for everybody, and it was a relief, to say the least, for others and for me, to know that it was autism, because we can work with that, because there's no malice in that. There's just difficulty. So tiredness, what I'm doing right now is, again, keeping this open dialectical mind, and I'm thinking about tiredness at the same time, and I'm putting it through this and that, this and that. What is tiredness when we're thinking about setting goals? When I'm thinking about, whoa, now I've got to do something else, and I'm here in this distress and this exhaustion. Well, I feel it's important for me to understand what I mean by being too tired. I'm just too tired. And I've split that up into brain, body, and soul. Mind, body, and spirit, whatever you want to call it, the Holy Trinity, however you want to call it. I don't think it matters as much immediately. It might matter on one level later on what those three camps are called, because I'm sure there's something deep inside what words we use for that. The etymology of everything is important to me. It's another one of my little rabbit holes. But when I'm thinking about tiredness, is my brain tired? Is my soul tired? And with that, I'm sort of meaning mood. Am I depressed in my mood? Again, that word depressed, down, squashed. And again, weird to say, because I don't associate myself with being depressed, but depressed as in pressed down, depression, it is there, but it's not. It's more the anxiety. And, I'm using the depressed because that pressure is how the anxiety can feel like heaviness. Although it doesn't always come with a low, flat mood, which can be a bit of the ADHD integrating with it. So mood is fine. Like, I want to do all these things, but I'm so heavy. I would say to that, just as a good analogy, which I've often used before, it's like some days I wake up and my mind is excited, my mood is elevated, but my body is like somebody's put me in concrete boots, or that I'm wading through porridge or custard, if anyone knows what custard or porridge are. It's like you're heavy. So my brain is my brain chemistry playing up. Is something, is something wrong there? Is my soul, is my mood sort of, heavy, and is that what's tired? My mood is tired, my brain is tired, or is my body tired? So if I start off with my body, and knowing again that we're not three thirds, we're not a third, a third, a third. We are everything all at once, all the time. Did anyone see that film, Everything All at Once, all the time, whatever it was called? Brilliant. I loved it. It was literally like chaos. I loved it. So when I think about what is tired, when my body is tired, my infrastructure is tired. So that could be my eyes, it could be my senses, it could be my brain as an organ is depleted. Like, I feel like I've just done too much braining that day, so it's actually an infrastructure tiredness as opposed to a chemistry of flow tiredness, which I call something different. It could be muscles. I could have been working physically hard. I could be having a bit of pain in my back. I have a back injury, as lots of people do. It's not great, is it? So tiredness of the body is one thing, and physical rest is a good thing for that. Physically resting will solve that. Tiredness of the brain is something that I really do feel as somebody who has mental illness and neurodiversity. I'm a chemist. I love chemistry, although probably not the world's best chemist, but I am very good at what I do. And I sometimes can sense the chemistry draining out of my brain, like the chemicals just easing off. This has always been, for as long as I remember, sorry, I shouldn't say always or never, we're being dialectic. This has been a situation for me for as long as I remember, that I have had that sense of something draining, not quite sure what it is. And now I understand it as my brain chemistry. So I take ADHD medication and I find that helpful. Being autistic and having ADHD, there are sometimes ways where the tablets can make things worse, or the medication, whatever you take. For me, I work with my psychiatrist, and actually, I found my own schedule was to take tablets in the morning for my ADHD to help me break the monotropism of that sleep cycle and go into another state, if you like, of action. So almost like a monotropic work, action, busy day type of state. So I load up my medication in the morning, take it somewhere between 7 and 9, depending on what the day is, and that will then kickstart me, and it will see me through until past the hump, if you like, of the day, lunchtime, and into the afternoon. But as soon as we get to 2, 3, 4, depending on what's happening, then I can almost feel that drain away and my brain starts to go cloudy again. Not always, sometimes it depends. So brain tired is different, but not necessarily separate from soul and body tired. Brain tired means for me that I need to be mindful. I need to not schedule or try to do cognitively demanding tasks. Recognizing what's a cognitively demanding task for me and then not beating myself up about it is me recognizing my disability or my hurdles that are there inherent to me, and then accepting them. And those two things are difficult, believe me. Accepting that you have a difficulty you cannot overcome and that is just you, regardless, is not an easy thing, when I don't think for anybody, because we don't want to be limited by something, regardless, although we accept that we are. And it's part of being a mature adult, I guess, too. Sometimes my brain is tired. Sometimes that means I need less social interaction. That's a good thing to come to the soul, the mood, the soul, whatever. This is what I would say that is more to do with that. Am I feeling happy and capable? Am I feeling heavy and slow and sluggish, or everything's pointless and a bit whatever? And sometimes it's like, I don't know what I feel. Alexithymia is not really understanding or not being having have the words as to what you feel. I have that as somebody who's autistic, and I'm also seeing that as being part of my delayed processing. So I don't always know what I feel in the moment. Like, I'm sitting here making this video now, squinting into the sun, because I'm like, yeah, this is good. I know now from experience that probably give it another hour or two sitting inside and doing stuff, that I'll probably have either a migraine from too much sunlight. I might have got too hot and not realized, and I'm sitting in this big jumper, because everything catches up with me later. My understanding why my mood is a bit out of sync, and it's not always down, it could be a bit up. Some days when my mood and my almost like my soul is heavy, soul, mood, spirit is coming back to goals and purpose. Okay, so this is where the goals and purpose, and this is what I was saying before. Objectively fine, blah de blah de blah, but you don't feel it. This is the quadrant. So brain, chemistry; body, muscle tired; soul, what is the point? Is it worth it? Why am I doing this? Why doesn't it feel like I've quite nailed anything? And that is where I can sometimes have problems. And of course, as I said, they're all feeding into each other. In order to feed my soul, to find my purpose, I do this. What I'm doing with you now. This is part of my soul craft, my soul journey, my quest. Leaning into my cognitive thoughts. Now, a lot of people, me included, me definitely for the last 40x years, whatever that was, relied on my brain, relied on me to intellectualize and think my way through things. I am still reliant on that to a large degree because my disability has gifted me this incongruence with how I think I feel and how I actually am as an objective state. So, in that gap, all I can do is be logic. I can gather information, I can make predictions, and then I can test predictions, and then that's how I go. So, I rely heavily on my brain to fill the gap of my disability. I'm learning to lean more into my body and to be more mindful and check my body more often so that I can relieve my brain chemistry and balance this out. Balance was a massive word for me through my life. It's less so now, ironically, although it needs to still be in the suite of words that I pull on to try and orientate and calibrate myself. But I was obsessed with finding balance. I'll feel better once my life's more in balance. Well, what the hell does that look like? Well, for me, this is the key: accepting that I'm autistic, that I have a disability which is going to make it very difficult for me to balance my reality and my body and my soul, how I feel, and my brain chemistry in real time. They're the hurdles in my dream landscape. Once I recognize that me as me has these difficulties and problems, I can take steps to work around them. Maybe it is walking around them, but that takes longer, so I've got to give myself longer. Maybe some of them can be removed or reduced by certain tools, habits, schedules, etc., or just conceptualizing of them. Maybe some of them are going to grow and get bigger because that's what happens as I'm getting older. And then it's a case of saying, well, okay, well, maybe that avenue, that complete route through something is not for me. It's going to take more out of me than I'm going to get. It's going to deplete my soul to punish myself in that way. One of the things that I want to end on is a situation that came up this morning, and that was with us being out here on the land. We're not on mains power, so we are solar, and we burn firewood to do the cooking and etc., that kind of thing. Now, I can make a fire and get that set up, but it's very difficult for me. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. My husband is amazingly quick at it. He can get that fire going in an instant. It will probably take me 20-30 minutes. I'll get a face full of smoke, and it's quite triggering for me in that moment. This morning, I get up first and I like to make a cup of tea. My husband shouted out to me, "Oh, you'll have to put the you'll have to do the wood fire because there's no gas bottle. Sometimes we have the gas for a quick cuppa, so that we've got a little stove." So I said to him that, well, I would appreciate you getting up and doing the fire for me. I will then make the tea and whatever else, but I don't see the point in me struggling on with that when I've got you here. And he kind of, like, a little minute rolled his eyes. He's very generous, and he did it, and he was very gracious about it, and it was good. But I then explained to him, look, I'm just no longer, and I wrote this down, I will no longer automatically struggle with tasks I find hard when I'm in the presence of others who find the task easy and can help me. Basically, I'll respect my difficulty and I'll ask for help. I will be kind to myself. Now, in the past, I wouldn't have thought like that. I would have just got up, I would have looked for the gas bottle, I couldn't see it, so I'd be like, oh, and either not even talk about it, and I would get on, distract myself for the day. But you see, then that's disregarding my needs, because I wanted a drink, I wanted something warm and refreshing for the morning. I get up early, I like to eat and drink first of all, and that's what I did. So I would have chosen, I wouldn't have held that against anybody. I wouldn't have then been passive aggressive about it. I would have accepted the situation as it was. There's no gas bottle, therefore I can't do this. Or the other thing is, I would have struggled on through, and then there was a possibility that with the smoke might have woke my husband up. He might have then got annoyed about that, or he might not have. I don't know. But whatever scenario I would have chosen in the past, it would not have honoured me. I would have owned that. I would have made it my problem, but in making it my problem, I would have felt worse about myself. In feeling worse about myself, I would have depleted my own soul. I would have also depleted a bit more of my brain chemistry. I would have possibly even been taking actions that are above and beyond what is necessary. So I would have depleted my muscles, maybe. And that, I think, is a great way to end, because that is an example of me not respecting myself as I am, and that me thinking that if I only just try this, that's an ableist mindset. That's an old mindset of mine. That is not respecting me as someone who's disabled. That is not giving other people the chance to help me or to make my life more enriched. And it's also not helping me reach my goals, because when I think about my goal and my purpose is to share, to make a contribution. I'm not very good at relationships, but I am not terrible, and I have some great personal relationships. In changing the direction of that interaction this morning, and that situation, in changing that situation this morning, acknowledging my disability and creating and accepting that, and a little bit of the sadness that I can't do the fire making as easily as my husband, and enjoying the fact that I set a boundary and that I've recognized inside of myself what I need to do to reduce, move around, or otherwise reconfigure my dream landscape to protect myself and to reach my goal. So if anybody has been watching these videos at all about existential crisis, goal setting, finding life's purpose, and thinking I'm too tired, I can't do it, sometimes the purpose, the point, is to reduce the tired. And reducing the tired is about doing less, not more. But before you can do less, you have to understand. You do have to do that last little bit of work, I think, and everybody's going to be different, to understand, well, why am I taking responsibility for yourself? Why am I putting a hurdle? Or why am I not even putting it? Why am I bashing against that hurdle all the time? Why am I doing it? Is there another way? And that's where, again, the dialectic, the bigger thing, the other strategies come in. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm hoping I don't get a migraine. I do get migraines, by the way, and it's more vestibular. It's in my stomach. So if I do get a migraine from that sun, it will probably feel like radiation sickness to me. So I will get a headache, but less of the sort of aura and whatever, and more of the stomach upset and stomach ache. And yes, I'll need to sit in a dark room to recalibrate. But it's a price that I was willing to pay, and that's the difference. That is the difference. I may or may not have that outcome. It's not a guarantee. I'm sitting here making this video in a place that's working for me, because I've got my everything set up nice and it's a lovely environment in the forest. And I accept the fact that I've put myself at a bit of a disadvantage with my disability. It's not hurting my soul. It's not hurting my soul. It might hurt my body, it might deplete a bit more of my brain chemistry because I've been squinting, but it's not going to hurt my soul. And as I said in the very beginning, or somewhere along the lines of this trajectory, actually, what really matters, I think, and what I've realized about life, is that it's how you feel that matters. It's all about how you feel. And then checking that against objective reality to make sure that you're not being selfish or putting other people down. But generally, when you feel better about yourself, when you've had these little insights and reduced some friction, yeah, there might still be a little bit of a moment in the beginning, but over time, that pressure, that thing, I believe it makes it better for everybody. It certainly has been that experience for me. And I've been setting a few boundaries, or understanding my limits, or really delving into my disability a lot more. And I really think that's the key for me now. It's as somebody who's always thought of themselves and conceptualized themselves as strong and powerful, I now have to accept that I am strong and powerful, and I'm vulnerable, and I'm weak in parts, I'm disabled in others, and that is how I balance my brain, my soul, and my body. That's how I find balance. I was always trying to find balance in a neurotypical world, and that was never going to help me. Always and never. This is about and this and that. That's it. Thank you. Goodbye.